everybody.
All right.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Hi, Deb.
Here we go. Check. There we go. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Roseville Rotary. And I'm glad to see everybody online. We've got quite a few here on site as well. So if you would stay muted if you're online, and if you are here, if you check your cell phone and put that on mute, that would be great. And please stand with me and we'll say the flag pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mute yourself, Julie.
And Julie, you're our Zoom greeter today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She did a great job.
Well, I said hi, and then do you want me to introduce the visitors and guests?
Would you please?
Thank you. We have two guests that I know of that are joining us online. Speaker Emma Mulhern with Rotex Global Grant Announcement, and Heidi Smith, Winona Rotary, Vocational Rotary Global Grant Project in Ukraine. And she's also a friend of Lynn Megan's. So did you see those?
Where's
two?
Heidi?
Do we see Heidi?
Heidi. Yeah,
Hi, Heidi. That's her. She's my friend.
We see Emma, but not Heidi. Where's Heidi? Oh,
She was
Let me tell you, if Heidi were on, you would know it. She's very vocal. So.
All right, our invocation is Joey Warren. Can people
Okay. Thank you. Based on our speaker today, I thought I would find an article I read by Rick Steves on how the power of travel unites us all. And I've cut this down because it was 4 pages. As a kid, my image of travel was clear. It was hardworking people vacationing on big white ships in the Caribbean to see if you could eat 5 meals a day and still snorkel when you get into port. On cruise ships, the cultural primer for the port, which slips under the door of each stateroom, is little more than a shopping tip sheet. But travel changed my perspective. My ego took a big hit in 1969. I was a pimply kid in an Oslo city park filled with parents doting over their adorable little children. I realized those parents loved their kids as much as my parents loved me. And then it hit me. This world was home to billions of equally precious children of God. From that day on, my personal problems and struggles had to live on a global setting. I was blessed and cursed with a broader perspective. Travel teaches the beauty of human fulfillment. I believe God created each of us to be fulfilled, and that doesn't necessarily mean to become doctors and lawyers. As you travel, you find people who make crepes like they invented them and will make them that way all their lives. Being poured a glass of wine by a vintner whose family has been on the bottle for over a century, you feel the glow of a person fulfilled. Sitting above the congregation with an organist whose name is at the bottom of 300-long-year list of musicians who powered that cathedral with music, you know you're in the presence of an artist who's found his lot. Travel helps us celebrate differences and overcome misunderstandings, big and little. Recently in Germany, a little preschooler stared at me. Finally, his mother said, "Excuse my son, he stares at Americans." She went on to explain that the last time they went to McDonald's, the boy, munching the fluffy hamburger bun, asked why Americans have such soft bread. She explained that it's because Americans have no teeth. Giving the child a smiley growl, I did my best to dispel that misunderstanding. On another trip, this time in Egypt, in a field across the Nile from the Temple of Luxor, children mug in front of my camera. I take photo after photo while parents looking on know that 2 clicks of my shutter cost me what they make in a day. While my camera's worth a year's wages, they smile and wave graciously before returning to their crops. By connecting me with so many people, travel has heightened my concern for people issues. It hasn't given me any easy solution, but it has shown me that people running our government have a bigger impact on the lives of the poor overseas than they do on my own life. It's left me knowing suffering across the sea is as real as suffering across the street. I've learned to treasure rather than fear the world's rich diversity. It's clear to me that people around the world are inclined to like Americans. And I believe that America, with all its power, wisdom, and goodness, can do a better job of making our world a better place. I will promote thoughtful travel with more gusto than ever because of my belief that if Americans had to travel before they could vote, our country would fit better into this ever smaller planet. Amen.
Thank you very much, Julie. All right, can we do a historical snapshot? I found a fun photo, and actually I think I'm gonna have to call Ed Merrick and give him this idea. Tell her what we expect. So this is a photograph from 1983, and it's a certificate of achievement to the Roseville Rotary Club in recognition of the highest attendance in the district for, what is it, July? And I love that July is whited out, or something else is whited out and July written in. So anyway, that's technology for you. So awesome. All right. Say, David, would you be able to give us an update on the Suburban Ramsey Emergency Coalition?
Sure. So many of you are familiar that we were involved with the Suburban COVID-19 Response Fund. And we have raised so far over $65,000. And an email went out earlier this morning, kind of listing where I think we've had 7 different grants given. A number of those grants are programs that we've supported in the past, like Sheridan Story and Aeon and Quincy House. So it's good that we're getting some of this money out. So right now we're trying to raise more money with this virtual Step Up for Our Community. It's a 3-mile virtual run walk. That's coming August 3rd to the 9th. You just walk on your own or run on your own and report your time. We have 72 people signed up for it right now. And so far we raised about $10,000 with sponsorships and registrations for that. So there's still time to sign up for that. And also there's the next thing that we're really doing, we're trying to encourage members of all the organizations. There's 14 different service organizations that are part of this coalition. And so you see that on the slide there, there's volunteer activities. So we've already made 200 isolation gowns that have been donated. And we're looking for somebody that wants to be on a committee to be thinking about the next volunteer projects that we want to do. So it's not like you'd be doing this yourself. You'd be on a part of a team coming up with ideas of what we can do for volunteering to help out the whole COVID situation going on. There's other areas that we're looking for some people to take leadership in if they're interested is event ideas. So proposing new fundraising events like the virtual walk. It's going to be, this wants to be done for the long term. So we're looking at many years and hopefully up to $150,000. The other program we're looking for is articles about impact of grants. So people that are interested in interviewing some of the grant recipients and find out what impact that we've made with this fund. And also if anybody's interested in helping to manage the Facebook page, we're looking to push out more information and get it out through Facebook and other social media. I know Mary Jo's involved with this. She's on a weekly call with me, and we're raising a lot of money with that. And we're also have Maria, who's been helping out quite a bit, although she's been gone recently on her trip. And Jan and Julie have been helping out with some committees also. So anybody else that wants to help out, please let me know, and I can get you to the right people. All right, thanks, Deb.
So David, can I just ask a question here? I've heard from a couple of people, and I don't know if you have, this is Mary Jo McGuire. Yeah. If you've heard people when they're trying to sign up for that, because I've been putting out notices about signing up, when they've tried to sign up for the run walk, that they've had some difficulty doing that. Have you heard from anybody else about that? I mean, I sent a note to Kent Peterson about, if there was a different link we could send to people or anything. I just don't want people to get frustrated.
The link in my email goes right to the registration page. So I am not registered, but I have not heard there's been a problem. So if you go to the link that was sent out this morning, that goes right to the virtual run walk registration. There's might be other parts that maybe it's not connected, or I don't know, it might be an issue, but I've not heard of that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jan.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I registered more than a week ago, and it was a very simple process for me. So it may be that it had a little bit of difficulty once, but I got in very easily. It went right through it simply, and they also will take a donation if you don't want to, if you want to add to it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the link I sent out. Maybe it's the link I sent out. So I'll have to check that out. Okay, thanks.
All right, back to you, Deb.
Anything else, David, on that? Okay, so I think that we will ask Jenny. Are you available, Madam President-elect there? There you go.
Yes,
Would you be so kind as to introduce our speaker for today?
absolutely. So our speaker today is Emma Mulhern.
Jenny, can you hold for a second? We got an announcement here.
Oh, can you do it from there or? Oh, okay. Speaker's right here if you want to just come close. Here's the webcam.
Oh, yeah. Okay, get right in front of there. Good.
Oh, sorry, forgot to take myself off mute. Just wanted to announce on Thursday, lucky 13th of August, we're going to have another 501 club. And believe it or not, that will be at 5:01 p.m. And it'll be a Zoom.
You can bring that whole thing
over there.
Thank you. Okay, now Jenny, I'm sorry about that.
No problem. So we have Emma Mulhern, who is with us today. She was this past year's North Star Rotex president and has previously served as the North Star Rotex communications officer. She's been involved with Rotex ever since she returned from her junior year abroad as a Rotary Youth Exchange student in Finland from 2015 to 2016. This fall, she'll be a senior at the University of Minnesota, go Gophers, where she is majoring in international business and supply chain and operations management with a minor in Finnish. So she also shared with me something exciting that she's also been involved in the St. Paul, there's a venture crew in St. Paul, which is related to scouting. And so her and her family are real close to scouting as well. So welcome, Emma.
Thank you. I'll share my screen real quick. Get that up. All right. So, yeah, thank you all for having me. I'm excited to tell you all about North Star Rotex. So I guess I'll just jump right into it. But first, I do want to introduce, obviously, I just finished my year as the North Star Rotex president. So I want to introduce who is the new president, and that is Sage Brinton. She went on exchange to Argentina 2016-17, and she also goes to the U of M, where she is also studying international business and supply chain. But in addition, she is studying public nonprofit management too. But she will be this year's North Star Rotex president. So after you hear this, if you want to learn more or who you want to know who your contact person would be, Sage would be a great person to talk to. Me, of course, too, but Sage would be a great person also. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, first, I will talk about Rotary Youth Exchange, because you need to know what that is to understand Rotex. Then I'll talk about North Star Rotex, who we are, what we do, and then really get into the bigger picture of Rotex. So Rotex International, looking at where Rotex fits within Rotary and how you as Rotarians can support Rotex. And of course, I have some COVID-19 updates relating to all of these things at the end. So what is North Star Rotary Youth Exchange? Well, it is a well-respected youth exchange program that covers districts 5950 and 5960. It was started in 1967, and we typically send out about 90 students every year, about 50 to 60 of those on our long-term exchange program, and the rest on our short-term programs. And these students go to more than 30 countries around the world. So anything from Germany to Argentina to Australia to Japan, quite a large variety. And applications are typically due in the fall of every year for our long-term program. So if a student wants to go abroad for the 2021-2022 academic year, they would need to apply by this fall. Now I want to talk about the programs we have. So one is our long-term program, which is a 10 to 12-month program, in other words, an academic year, and students aged 15 to 19 years old. So that could be anything from doing a sophomore year abroad, junior year abroad, senior year abroad, or a gap year after high school. These students go abroad, they live with local host families, they attend a local high school, and they're there to really learn about the local language and culture, immerse themselves in it, while also being an international ambassador and representing their home country. Then we have our short-term programs. One of them is our family-to-family exchange program, which is a 2-month-long program. One of those months is spent overseas. So how it works is, let's say a student from Minnesota is paired with a student from Taiwan. The student from Minnesota will go over to Taiwan for 1 month, live with that student's family, and then both of those students will come back and spend a month here in Minnesota or Wisconsin. It's a summer experience abroad, so younger students may be thinking about doing the long-term program, but they want to try something out first. This would be a good option for them. Then there are the international camps, which are 1 to 3 week long programs, also during the summer, and they're themed intercultural experiences abroad. So it could be a nature camp in Finland, it could be, there's one in Taiwan where they bike around the entire island of Taiwan, which is pretty cool. And the difference here really is that it's more of a themed experience, and it will take students up to 25 years old, depending on the camp. And before I get into my presentation, I want to cover some important terms, which are related to youth exchange and will help you follow along with my presentation. So we'll take an example of a student from Minnesota who is going on exchange to Finland for a year. The student applies, they're accepted, and now they're preparing to go on exchange. This student is considered a candidate student. Now, throughout the spring, they prepare. Then once we get to about July, August, they get on the plane and they go overseas to Finland. At that point, the student is considered an outbound student. They have gone out on exchange to Finland. But from Finland's perspective, they are an inbound student. They have come into Finland to spend the year abroad. Any students that come here into the North Star area are considered inbound students. Then that student completes their year in Finland, they return from their exchange year to Minnesota, and now they are considered a rebound student. They have returned from their exchange year. Within the Rotary space, we have the sponsor club, which would be the American club that sponsors a student going out on exchange. Then we have the host club, which is the club in Finland hosting the student for the year, inviting them to meetings, involving them in whatever the club does and their activities. And within the club, you have your youth exchange officer, which is or YEO, which is someone who helps to take care of more of the logistical side of things, like making sure the student is enrolled in school, making sure they have host families, that sort of thing. And then each student has a counselor, which is someone who is there to really help support them more emotionally and make sure that they're doing all right throughout their exchange year. So these are some important terms relating to youth exchange. As was mentioned, I spent my junior year of high school abroad in Finland. I decided to go on exchange because actually both of my parents had been exchange students, my older brother, 2 of my aunts. We'd hosted numerous exchange students, so really it was kind of a family tradition at that point, in a sense. But I decided I wanted to go to Finland as one of my choices because I used to play hockey, and so I picked countries that play hockey, and Finland was one of them. And actually, you can see on the lower right there, my hockey team in Finland. They're all wearing Minnesota Wild shirts because a St. Paul Rotarian, which is where I am from. I'm from St. Paul, so the St. Paul Club hosted me or sponsored me. A Rotarian from the St. Paul Club worked for the Minnesota Wild, and he was able to send us a bunch of Minnesota Wild t-shirts to give to my teammates, which was very cool for them to see. But it was a very different experience for me. I was in a very small town of 10,000 people, which is very different from the big city of St. Paul. But it was a very impactful experience. So I not only got to learn another language, meet new people, make new friends, but learn a lot about myself and what I'm capable of and what I want to do with my life, essentially. So now that I've had this transformative experience, I've learned so much about myself, I've learned so much about the world. Now what? I come back from Finland and I'm just supposed to go back to the way things were? Like, that's not going to happen. So really, what do I do? And that's where North Star Rotex comes into the picture. So who are North Star Rotex? Well, North Star Rotex are former long-term Rotary Youth Exchange program participants. So typically high school to college-age students. You can see there on the right a picture of some of our Rotex from our third candidate orientation last spring. How students that return from exchange, how do they become Rotex? Well, they attend a North Star Rotary Youth Exchange sponsored overnight event, such as Halloween weekend, or 1 year after returning from their exchange year, they are considered a Rotex. Now, what is North Star Rotex? Well, I see it as sort of having two main pillars. One is, of course, we are a service organization, just like everything else in Rotary. But secondly, and most importantly, we are a community of people that have similar experiences and we're able to support each other because of that. First, I want to talk about how we are a service organization. So throughout the year, we do a lot of different service. We help out at primarily North Star Rotary Youth Exchange sponsored events. And first, I want to focus on our service with the inbound students. Again, these are the students that are spending their year abroad here in Minnesota or Wisconsin. These students arrive typically in August at some point, and about 2 weeks into September, we hold our inbound orientation, which is an opportunity for the inbounds to, of course, meet each other, but also talk about things like culture shock and how to prepare for an exchange year. What is the American lifestyle like? Really preparing them for the next year and giving them the tools to succeed. Rotex are really important at this event because not only can we serve as cultural translators, but literal translators, because not all of these students speak English that well yet. And so we're able to communicate with them and make sure that they get all of the important information that they need. Then in October, we hold Halloween weekend, which is a very, very fun event where we get together, we carve pumpkins, we go on a hike, we have a costume party, very fun time, and Rotex are there to, of course, supervise, make sure that everything goes smoothly, especially pumpkin carving, because many of these students have never done it before. So Rotex are very important to make sure that all of these moving parts go smoothly. Then in early December of every year, there are the applicant interviews and the country fair. So on all of the applicants will come, they will be interviewed, and then they go through what we call the country fair with all of the inbounds. You can think of sort of a science fair setup, but for countries, and that is the country fair. So inbounds from each have their own board for their country, and they say, you should come to Finland, we play hockey there, it's super fun, it's the best, or you should come to Thailand, we have the best food, or you should come to Argentina, it will not get as cold there as it does here, so you should come and go on exchange there. And really they're there to promote their country and say, you should come there on exchange. Rotex are very important at this event because there are a lot of people and we're able to help manage the flow and make sure that everyone is where they need to be. Then in June, we typically hold a inbound farewell weekend, which is an opportunity for the inbounds to get together for really one last hurrah, see each other again, but also talk about what comes next. What will it be like to return to their home countries, deal with reverse culture shock, going back to high school there, really preparing them for what life will be like after exchange. Then we have the candidates. Again, these are the students going out on exchange. In the spring, we hold 3 candidate orientations where we give them the tools, we give them the resources and ideas on how to be successful and have a successful exchange year. Rotex are very, very important at these events as well because, of course, we were in their shoes not too long ago. We have those experiences. We know what it's like to go to India, to go to Argentina on exchange, and we can provide advice and run different sessions on things they'll need to know. So on the right there, you can see the really long pool noodle. What we do with that is we show the ups and downs of culture shock and talk about some of our own experiences with culture shock to prepare these students for what they will face. And then we have our rebound students. These are the students that have just returned from their exchange year. In August of every year, we hold Rebound Weekend, which is an opportunity for rebounds to get together, see each other again, and really connect over their exchange years and talk about what they've learned, how they've grown. And we have different sessions and different things to really get them to think through their exchange year and how they've changed. while also providing them with the tools and the resources for what comes next. So how to deal with reverse culture shock, how to deal with going back to high school or going off to college, how to deal with living with your parents again and all of the rules that you don't want to deal with. So it's a really great opportunity for them, and also for Rotex to connect with them and encourage them to become a part of Rotex. So now that we've talked about how North Star Rotex is a service organization, I want to talk about how Rotex is a community. Unlike other organizations within Rotary, we all have a shared experience. We've all been on exchange. Yes, we went to different countries, but we all know what it's like to say the wrong word and get laughed at or struggle to make friends. But we also know what it's like to feel comfortable living abroad, to feel like you've become bicultural. And we understand each other regardless of when we went. My parents, they both went on exchange a long time ago, but we can still share stories and experiences and understand each other in a way that other people who haven't gone on exchange really can. And because of that, we're a support system. We like I said, we have that shared experience and we understand what people are going through, especially when they come back from exchange and have to deal with reverse culture shock. And so we can support and understand each other. And we keep this Rotex community alive by holding different social events throughout the year. We've done a number of things, whether it's a candlelight hike in the winter time, or we've gone to the beach, or we've done bowling. But one of our really signature events is our Rotex All Ages Get Together, which we have twice a year, where, as you can guess, Rotex of all ages get together, share our experiences, and welcome in our rebounds into our Rotex community. This picture on the right here actually is from this last August, where we had about 40 people, I think, attend the event, and that really shows how far and wide our Rotex community spans. In terms of my Rotex experience, I got involved as soon as I came back from exchange, and I've really enjoyed mentoring students, whether it's candidates, whether it's inbounds, and really providing them with the resources that they need to be successful during their exchange year. The picture on the right there actually is a fun story. So that is the student from Minnesota who went on exchange to Finland in 2018-2019. And she arrived in August of 2018. I also happened to be visiting Finland that summer. So I went to the airport to surprise her. And it was a very cool experience to having trained her over the past few months and now sort of seeing her off on her exchange year. That was a very cool experience. But of course, being a part of the Rotex community and really helping to develop Rotex not only here in Minnesota, but around North America, around the world. Like going to the North American Youth Exchange Network Conference, the NIAN conference last year, where I got to meet Rotex from all over the country, from Canada, from Mexico. And that was a very cool experience to see how far and wide Rotex really does span. Now looking at the bigger picture of Rotex, I'll talk about next Rotex International, which, like Rotary has Rotary International, Rotex has Rotex International. The main difference being Rotary International has been around for quite a while, and Rotex International was officially established in 2016. So it's quite a young organization. But similar to Rotary International, their goals are to really promote and connect Rotex around the world and support the development of new Rotex clubs, as they call them. So North Star Rotex would be a Rotex club. They do a few different things. One of the things they started last year was Rotex Week. So they had different themes for each day. They said today is inbound day, tomorrow's rebound day, so forth, and they encouraged Rotex from around the world to post photos. And then they would pick the best photo and show everyone around the world a specific project or about a specific Rotex club. And this picture on the left actually is from last year when we posted our photo for Rebound Day, where we talked about how we have the rebounds write thank you notes and how important that is to really think about their exchange year and thank the people that made it possible. And Rotex International shared that on their social media pages, which is very cool to see that other people might be able to use this idea and that we are making an impact in our program. And then they also had it this year where they had different themes of inspire and connect, and our pictures were also included in this little montage you can see here on the right. So very cool to see that we can have an impact at the Rotex, at the international level for Rotex. They also hold international conventions. It was supposed to be this August, but of course that was postponed to next year, but that will be August 5th to 8th of 2021. And the idea is really to get Rotex together, connect, think about ways we can improve, how can we work more together. But know that Rotarians are also welcome. So if this is something you're interested in, you can definitely feel free to look it up and find more information online. And now, where does Rotex fit within the bigger picture of Rotary? When I think about Rotary, I think about sort of this traditional path of Rotary. So first you have your Interact, your Rotary for high school students, really getting them involved, getting them really thinking about that service mindset. And then you have your Rotaract, your essentially Rotary for young adults, fewer meetings or more casual meetings, more of that focus on volunteering and giving back, that sort of thing. And then of course we have Rotary, which you all know about, but this is sort of one path. This is the path of Rotary. You can go from Interact to Rotaract to Rotary. And then you have the youth exchange path, where a student applies, they go on exchange for a year, and then they come back and they hopefully become involved in Rotex. And while there are two different paths, it's not to say these paths don't overlap. So Interact could become youth exchange students, Rotex could become involved in Rotaract, and potentially later involved in Rotary. But the point I want to make with this slide is not all Rotex will become Rotaractors. Not all Rotex will become Rotarians. I think our exchange year really has instilled in us that service mindset. So while my mom, she is a St. Paul Rotarian, that's what she decided to do, and she was also a Rotex and a Rotary Youth Exchange student, not everyone was that way. Like my dad, as was mentioned, we are quite involved in Scouts, and my dad is really involved in Boy Scouts. And that's how he gives back to the community and helps to continue with that service mindset, right? So while not all Rotex will become Rotaractors and not all Rotex will become Rotarians, they will likely be involved in service and giving back in their community in some form or fashion. Now, how can you as Rotarians support Rotex? Well, one, support the North Star Youth Exchange Program, whether that's hosting a student, sending out a student on exchange, or just helping volunteer at events, or really encouraging, spreading word about our program. Really, a lot of people find out about our program through word of mouth. So telling people to apply, especially now, encouraging them to apply and knowing that it is a possibility. Know who we are, understand what Rotex is, and spread the word. I'm sure a few of you today at least did not know what Rotex is before I came in and I gave this presentation. And I think it's really important that Rotarians know who we are and what we do. We're such a great group of people. We give back so much to the Youth Exchange Program. So now if you meet a Rotarian and they say, oh, I haven't heard about Rotex, what is that? You can say, well, I heard this presentation about Rotex recently. Let me tell you what I know about it. And lastly, connect with and get to know Rotex. Like I said before, we are a great group of people. Of course, we've been on exchange. We've learned other languages. We've experienced other cultures. We know how to work with people from around the world. But also, we have that service mindset. We want to give back. And I think Rotarians have a lot of, you guys are great because you have the network, you have the connections. And Rotex are young, we're just getting started, we're just graduating college, we're looking for those internships, we're looking for those jobs. And I think Rotarians can help us with that. You guys, if I were a Rotarian, I would want to hire a Rotex. We have all these great skills. We have that global mindset, which is so important in today's world. Or even just, there are so many opportunities for Rotex to be mentored by Rotarians. Like last fall, we had the Rotary Mentor Meetup where Rotaractors and Rotex and Rotarians got together, shared information, shared stories, really started that mentorship process. And I think that was very cool. So some things to think about, but really just get to know us. I think you won't regret it. And now what has been the COVID-19 impact on youth exchange? At this point, most of our students, inbounds, outbounds, have already returned home. It's July, that's typically normal. But as of March, out of our 60 or so outbounds, we had about only 10-15 stay overseas. Most came home in about March. And most of our inbounds have also returned, but I don't know the status on all of them. Some may still be here, especially with, for example, Argentina not allowing international flights until September, causing some issues, but we are making sure that all students are being taken care of and they have the needed host families to do well here for as long as they need to be here. We unfortunately cannot hold Rebound Weekend in person, so we are holding it online, and that will be coming up on August 8th actually. So although it'll be in an online format, we're still looking forward to connecting with our rebounds and providing them with the resources they need to reintegrate, especially in this new world that we live in. For the short-term program, that was canceled, but they started to connect people, connect students online, as far as I understood, so that hopefully they can then meet next summer through the short-term program. North Star decided to cancel all long-term programs for this calendar year, which leaves potential open for exchanges starting in January, but we really don't know. And we're still recruiting students for the 2021-2022 academic year, which, as I mentioned, applications will be due this fall. And as for the students that were supposed to go on exchange this year, different things are happening. If they're young, they could postpone their exchange to next year. If they're gap year, they might have just decided, no, I'll go off to college, or they might potentially do a shorter term exchange starting in January. We really don't know. We'll see what happens. In terms of the COVID-19 impact on Rotex, of course, it's a difficult time for many people, so finding ways to support each other. In March, not many, but some of our Rotex were studying overseas through college, and they had to come home early, so we had to help support them with that as well. But supporting those students when they came home early in March and making sure that they felt like they had a support system, even though they were stuck at home alone online, like everything was online with their parents. So this next year, really the challenge will be finding ways to keep Rotex engaged, especially with more online events, not being able to see each other in person that much. But without some of our normal events, we see it as a time to really evolve and improve ourselves, really focus on the core mission of Rotex and what we need moving forward. So some things we've done is within our leadership team, we added a social media officer, someone really focused on promoting Rotex and showing everyone else what we do. We've worked to put together a country-specific resource guide, which gives students going out on exchange or students that have just come home from exchange resources in Minnesota and Wisconsin specific to their countries, like, for example, the Romanian American Association or things like that, so that they can stay connected after their exchange year. And North Star Rotex, it was cool to see that Roseville turned, the Roseville Club turned 50. North Star Rotex will be turning 50 next year, actually. So finding ways to celebrate that and showing how long we've been around, because most Rotex clubs have only been around maybe 10, 15 years. So it's quite a great thing to show and a big accomplishment to celebrate. Now that you've heard this presentation, if you'd like to stay up to date on what we do have an Instagram account, and we have actually a new LinkedIn page if you want to look at that. And North Star Rotary Youth Exchange has a Facebook page that you can also look at for important updates on Youth Exchange. Now, I want to end my presentation with this quote, which some of you may have seen before, but it is from a former Rotary International president who said this: "My dream is for every 17-year-old to become a youth exchange student. If we could achieve this, there would be no more wars." And I would agree with that. I think youth exchange allows young people to gain a different perspective, learn about other people, and be able to work with them, understand them. Even though we're different, we can work together to make the world a better place. And I think Rotex really helps to complement this in many ways. So these students, they learn so much on exchange, they learn all these language skills, intercultural communication skills, and they come back, and when they become involved in Rotex, we can develop them even further. We can develop their public speaking skills, teach them how to lead 50 inbounds through a hike in the park, really provide them with the skills to further develop as leaders and become the leaders of tomorrow, the future leaders that we need to build and to really work towards this Rotary International's mission of intercultural understanding and peace. And with that, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Counselor Emma? Al, go ahead.
Yes, Emma, have I heard something about that you're running for some office internationally? Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Rotex International is they have their own leadership board. They have 5 members. They have 2 open board positions this year, and so I'm one of the people that has applied. There are only 3 of us, so hopefully my chances are pretty good. But yes, I did apply for the Rotex International Board, and they will be holding live interviews on August 2nd, so you can check those out online on the Rotex International Facebook page, and then the elections will be on August 8th.
Great. We wish you good luck on that, Emma.
Thank you.
Hi, Emma. I have a 11-year-old who I think would be amazing. Actually, not think. I know she's amazing. But in the case of exchanges, how do you keep the children safe? So, for example, if my sister's children came to the U.S. for an exchange program, how would you make sure that tall, very handsome, dark boys don't have issues? And if they do, what do you do to support them and protect them?
Yeah. So I think one of the great things about Rotary is we have such an international network. So really there is a big support system in place. If a student comes on exchange, let's say to Roseville, in the club you'd have the youth exchange officer, you have the counselor, you have the host parents, the host family, you have the school counselor, you have this really big support network, which is really important, especially when things happen, like when there's an earthquake in Japan. How do we get these students home? How do we take care of them? How do we make sure they're safe and doing all right? Or even with COVID. And I think we really have a very strong support network, which helps to keep these students safe. But of course, we also at our orientations teach them the skills they need to be safe. We teach them how to make smart decisions if they feel unsafe, what to do, and really provide them with the tools to be successful, because we can't prevent a pandemic. We can't prevent things from happening, but we can give them the tools and the skills and the network that they need to stay as safe as possible while they are on exchange.
Right, we're just going to take one more question. Ed, do you want to ask yours?
So Emma, you've encouraged us to invite students to participate and apply. Is that a competitive situation, or does anyone who want to go end up in the exchange?
So it depends on the year, how many applicants we get. There are typically 50 to 60 open spots. We could get anywhere from 70 to 100 applicants. So in a sense, yes, it is somewhat competitive, but it's not like anyone that wants to go on exchange can go. We have to, of course, vet them, make sure that they are prepared to go on exchange. But I would say if you were encouraging a student to apply, yeah, maybe you have to, show your best self and there's a chance you won't get in. But if you are a good candidate, you will likely get in. And it never hurts to apply early. If the student applies to go their junior year, they don't get accepted, they have more opportunities to apply in later years too.
Well, thank you so much, Emma. It's been a pleasure. We appreciate you telling us all about Rotex. So let's give her a warm round of waves or applause. And just, Emma, in honor of our speakers, we make contributions to Rotary Woods and Main Garden in Central Park, Freedom. So thank you. I have just a couple of other announcements here. First of all, thank you to Mulhern for being our record reporter today. So thank you. And in reading through our bylaws, I discovered that it's our privilege to be able to have a nominating committee for President-elect nominee. If you are interested in being on that committee, David and myself and Jenny will be on the committee, but we'd like 2 or 4 other people. Would you please contact me? You can either look on Club Runner for my contact info, or just send it to Kathy and she'll forward it. So, Jenny, would you tell us who's going to be speaking next week?
Absolutely. It is our very own, very special world traveler herself coming back after her book tour, but yeah, Jan Kim is going to be talking to us about her experience and her latest book. Her first book, I guess, too.
I've been watching her on Facebook and he's just tearing up South Korea. It's beautiful. Can't wait to hear. All right, if you would please stand with me, and if you are able to face your table members and recite the four-way test to them, I think that's got a powerful statement. But please join with me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill in their friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all for joining us today, and have a great week. Thank you.
See you.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.